Issue 9. So this issue starts with Eggman saying he knows everything about Sonic. I doubt that. It makes a robot that looks like him using that information. You know, a lot of the information about him wouldn't be useful for making a robot based off him. Like his favorite food, since robots can't eat. Pseudosonic is a pretty lame name. It makes sense that Pseudosonic has no manners, considering he basically has Sonic's attitude. And Eggman's willing to put up with it for having a fast robot like him. After Sonic mistreats Antoine some more, telling him that he's not going to tell him that he's doing something, how stupid is he? He goes picking flowers while a butterfly of all things somehow talks to him, and ends up scratching himself from poison ivy until he swells up to a ridiculous proportion. Did I just enter an acid trip comic? This is really, really weird looking. This is really out of place. Also, thanks for the damn fourth wall breaking there, Dora. First, Antoine gets wrapped up in vines from wanting to get a flower for Sally, and now Sonic is debilitated by a poison ivy rash. Moral of the story, don't get flowers for Sally. It's good that Sonic is made to look vulnerable and need a saving for once, instead of always being overpowered and perfect all the time. Is he being sarcastic, or does he actually think of Sonic as that evil deep down? Huh! They actually remembered and did something with Bunny's hairdressing dream. And it is pretty sweet of Tails to help out like that unnecessarily. Okay, Rotor 2. So, yeesh. Tails looks terrible here. At least all the Freedom Fighters recognized that Pseudosonic isn't the real Sonic right away. And Antoine was distracted, not really looking at him, so it makes sense that he got past them. But before he can give Robotnik the coordinates, it gets completely destroyed by sparks of electricity. Yes! Tails doing something useful for once. Sonic had taught him to drag his tails around to build up a field of static electricity, which destroys him with a bunch of golden sparks. While the fact that Sonic is apparently able to do this too diminishes his impact. Like, I can't imagine that any Mobian would be able to just summon that much electricity by dragging their tails on a carpet. He's gotta have some kind of magic in him to be able to do that. It just sucks that this is never used again. I may sound inconsistent considering I complained about Sonic having powers they didn't have in the games, while Tails does this. But Tails was based off the Japanese Kitsune, which is a two-tailed fox with all sorts of elemental powers. So it makes much more sense for Tails to have a wider variety of magical powers than Sonic, whose powers are very clearly defined and established. He goes fast and has sharp spines. Also, here's another forced joke that makes no sense. We established earlier that money has no value in Mobius. So why would Eggman pay a cable bill? The butterfly that Sonic was interacting with somehow figures out where Sonic lives. I guess he told her. And that's how they know where to go to find him. Eggman almost finishes Sonic off while he's weak from poison ivy, only for him to be foiled by Bunny finally being allowed to be badass again. Awesome! And she also helps Sonic in a non-violent way by curing his poison ivy with a convenient ointment. The only problem I have with this is that Bunny says y'all to just one person, despite it blatantly having the word all in it. How do you screw that up? They just threw in random Texas slang for speech with no knowledge of how it's used or anything, no love and care. How often does she do this? It takes you out of it. This is another story written by Mike Gallagher, and it's even more charming and enjoyable than the last. There's nothing that really bothers me in this story, aside from this. And that's just art. It's just Eggman building a prototype Sonic robot and using it in the smartest way possible. It even makes sense that Antoine would make the mistake he did, instead of him looking right at him and mistaking him for Sonic. The thing that really makes the story great, though, is that not just one, but two of Sonic's friends are allowed to be useful and badass. Even Tails, who's normally relegated to being useless even though he has special abilities too. Now, if he can move fast like Sonic, and most of Sonic's abilities come from him being fast, why can't Tails do at least most of what Sonic can? My source didn't have the next story, so thanks for that. After the Pseudosonic story, and a quick comical short about how even Strawman Villain Eggman isn't cruel enough to make a dentist spot. Wait, two things are weird about this. One, okay, I guess he's gone to the dentist and hate it like any normal person. Do they want him to be impossible to relate to or not? And 2, it's weird to me the idea that he has his robots manufacture other robots for him instead of him, the main villain, coming up with all the plans on his own. You think that he'd want, like, he does take the credit, but it wouldn't feel satisfying. It wouldn't feel as satisfying as actually making the plans on his own. Why does he say manufacturer in this context as if he was the one who built it, and on a robot he can put the blame on? But anyways, after this in a pointless how to draw Sonic segment, comes the real second story. Looks like Sonic went picking flowers for Sally again. No, you fool, what are you doing? Only disaster happens when you do that. He stops in his tracks because he ran too fast, and somehow that killed the flowers. And yet, while physics applies to these flowers, he never hurts people when running while carrying them. So that's annoyingly inconsistent. It looks like that just happened to spite Sonic. Maybe the universe is trying to tell you something. So a turkey bird, or whatever, drops out of the tree above him because it was in the tree above him for some reason, and he gets some berries for it, showing a sympathetic side to him, an animal lover side. I like the line, "Remember the black one is my nose." Sally looks like a heartless bitch here, rejecting what's very obviously not an animal robot in disguise or a squirrel with a tracking device on it that Tails somehow didn't see, even if it is a genuine concern after the past experiences they've had with pets. It's just that she looks like a jerk at first, with that impression lasting the rest of the story, with me being satisfied at Sonic calling her cruel. I didn't expect him to call her out like that. Because it's only after she rejects Sonic's well-intentioned gift that she tells the audience what happens to make her do so. Isn't that kind of backwards? It is an interesting way to take her character, that her being the cautious, responsible leader type caused her to act paranoid from all that caution after enough bad experiences, though. And then, almost as karma, Sally gets grabbed by a giant tree that's in line with her botnet. That's a cool concept. It is genuinely kind of amusing that rather than Sonic making stupid tree puns in the story itself, and diluting the tension and action down, Sonic breaks the fourth wall to say all of those puns at once before actually fighting the thing with a hilarious look on his face. This is how you do it right. See, this is the kind of self-awareness the comic should have had. It's insulting its own puns, getting them over with. It's like, he even looks like he's trying to mess with you. Like, he has a look on his face that he does when he interacts with Robotnik. So he knows that puns are annoying. So why does he say them thinking that the audience will find it funny most of the time then? But yeah, this is the fourth wall break joke that I'm not completely hating. I figured that Thorny was going to contribute to the plot to redeem himself to Sally. He flies Sonic over to the tree to let him attack it with Spin Dash from above, and then Thorny helps even more by laying an egg on Eggman and attacking him. This makes Sally warm up to it. Wait, wasn't that bird unable to fly? And now it's helping by flying. This is very contrived writing. Although I hate Sonic saying they make him an honorary freedom fighter because we never see this thing again. Both because this is the episodic no continuity allowed part of the Archie Sonic comic where reset button is in full force, and because this thing is cute enough to be accepted as a team pet in a meta sense. This story was written by Angelo and it was pretty good, aside from making me really annoyed at Sally for rejecting what's very clearly not a robot in disguise, who very clearly doesn't have a tracking device on it. Why would Eggman have his robots put a mere tracking device on a squirrel instead of roboticizing it the first chance he gets anyways? Wouldn't that guarantee they wouldn't be able to roboticize it because it'd, like, run away?